Once upon a time in the heart of Enugu, there was a small village called Amaka. In this village lived a young woman named Amaka. She was known for her kindness and hard work. Amaka would rise with the sun each day, tending to her family's needs, cooking meals, and caring for the children. One of her daily tasks was to venture into the nearby forest to fetch firewood, a chore she never complained about. The forest was a magical place filled with tall trees, colorful flowers, and the sweet sounds of nature. But it was also a place of mystery. The villagers often told stories of spirits that danced in the forest at night, but Amaka had never seen them. She would listen with wide eyes as the elders spoke, but she always shook her head, believing that the tales were just stories meant to scare children. One day, while gathering firewood, Amaka heard a strange sound. It was faint at first, like a whisper carried by the wind. As she paused to listen, the sound grew louder. It was a rhythmic drumbeat accompanied by joyful melodies that seemed to call her name. Curious and enchanted, Amaka followed the sound deeper into the forest, her heart racing with excitement. As she walked, the trees around her swayed gently, as if they were urging her to come closer to the music. The air became thick with a sweet fragrance that made her head spin. She could see a soft glow in the distance, and her curiosity pushed her forward. Eventually, she reached a clearing where a group of spirits danced in a circle. They were ethereal beings, their bodies shimmering like the stars in the night sky. The spirits wore colorful garments that flowed like water, and they moved with grace, their laughter ringing like chimes in the wind. Amaka stood frozen, mesmerized by the beauty of the scene before her. One of the spirits, noticing her presence, approached her with a kind smile. "Welcome, Amaka," the spirit said. "We have been waiting for you. We are the guardians of this forest, and we have a gift for you." The spirit held out a delicate flute made of shimmering wood, adorned with tiny carvings of leaves and animals. "This flute has magic," the spirit explained. "When you play it, you can wish for anything your heart desires. But remember, every wish comes with a price." Amaka's eyes widened with wonder. She could hardly believe what she was hearing. "What kind of wishes can I make?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "You can wish for love, happiness, or even riches," the spirit replied. "But be wary, the forest has its own rules. Use the flute wisely, for the spirits will dance on the forest floor to grant your wishes, but they may also take something in return." Amaka felt a mix of excitement and fear. The spirits danced around her, their joyful energy filling her with warmth. "I promise to use it wisely," she vowed, taking the flute from the spirit's hand. With a light heart, Amaka thanked the spirits and made her way back home, the flute tucked safely in her apron. As she walked, thoughts raced through her mind. What should her first wish be? Would she wish for a better life for her family? Or perhaps for a beautiful garden to grow food for everyone? That night, Amaka could hardly sleep. The flute glowed softly in the moonlight, as if it were alive. Finally, she decided to wish for something simple, enough food for her family to eat every day. She believed that with enough food, they would be happy and healthy. As dawn broke, Amaka played the flute, its melodies swirling around her like a gentle breeze. She closed her eyes and made her wish. The music filled the forest, and she could feel the spirits dancing all around her, their energy merging with her own. But as the last note faded, a chill swept through the air. The joyous laughter of the spirits turned into a distant echo, replaced by a haunting silence. Amaka opened her eyes, and the world around her had changed. The forest was still, and the sunlight seemed dimmer. Suddenly, she felt a cold hand on her shoulder. She turned to see one of the spirits from the clearing, its once bright face now clouded with a serious expression. "You have made your wish, Amaka, but remember the price you must pay," the spirit warned. Amaka's heart raced. "What price?" she asked, her voice trembling. "You must give up something dear to you," the spirit said. "For every wish granted, something must be lost. Will you pay the price?" Amaka felt a knot in her stomach. She had not thought of this consequence. What could she bear to lose? The warmth of her family, the laughter of her siblings, her home. As the spirit waited, the forest grew darker, and the air thickened with tension. Amaka realized she had to make a choice. Taking a deep breath, she asked, "What will happen if I refuse to pay the price?" The spirit's expression hardened. Refusing a wish is not an option. The forest does not take kindly to those who break their promises. Amaka's mind raced. She could feel the weight of the flute in her hands, its magic pulsing with power. She had to decide quickly, for the shadows were closing in, and the spirits began to dance restlessly around her. In that moment, Amaka understood the true nature of her wish. She had sought to bring happiness and abundance, but now it seemed that joy was intertwined with sacrifice. With a heavy heart, she whispered, "I will pay the price." The spirit nodded, and the forest fell silent once more. "What will you give up?" it asked. Amaka thought of her beloved family, her friends, and the village that had always supported her. She realized that she could not bear to lose any of them. Instead, she looked deep within herself and said, "I will give up my own happiness for the happiness of my family." The spirit smiled, a mixture of sadness and respect in its eyes. "A noble choice. Your selflessness will be rewarded." As soon as the words left her mouth, the forest erupted in a whirlwind of light and sound. The spirits danced around Amaka, their laughter now filled with joy. She could feel the magic of the flute surge through her, and the ground beneath her feet began to tremble. Suddenly, everything changed. Amaka found herself back in her home, surrounded by her family. They were laughing and enjoying a feast like never before. Food filled the table to overflowing, and her heart swelled with joy. But deep inside, a part of her felt empty, the weight of her sacrifice heavy on her soul. Days turned into weeks, and while her family thrived with the abundance of food, Amaka felt a growing sadness within her. The laughter of her siblings echoed in her ears, but it no longer filled her with happiness. She had given up her own joy to ensure theirs, but in doing so, she lost a piece of herself. Determined to reclaim her happiness, Amaka ventured back into the forest. She clutched the magic flute tightly in her hands, knowing she needed to confront the spirits once more. The forest was darker than she remembered, and the air was thick with tension. As she reached the clearing, she found the spirits waiting for her. Their dance was slower, and the joy in their eyes had faded. "Why have you returned, Amaka?" the first spirit asked, its voice filled with concern. "I wish to reclaim my happiness," Amaka said boldly. "I sacrificed it for my family, but now I realize that I cannot be truly happy unless I am whole." The spirits looked at each other, their expressions solemn. "To reclaim your happiness, you must be willing to face the consequences of your wish," they warned. "I understand," Amaka replied. "I am ready to accept whatever price must be paid." With a nod, the spirits began to dance once more, their movements graceful and fluid. Amaka raised the flute to her lips, and as she played, she felt the energy of the forest swell around her. But this time, her wish was different. She wished for balance, a life where her happiness and her family's happiness could coexist. As the last note faded, the spirits surrounded her, their laughter ringing out like chimes in the wind. In that moment, Amaka felt a surge of power. The forest came alive with a brilliant light, and she could feel the spirits merging with her, filling her with warmth and joy. As the dance of the forest reached its peak, Amaka knew she had made the right choice. She had learned that true happiness comes from sharing joy, not sacrificing oneself for others. With a heart full of gratitude, Amaka opened her eyes to find herself back in the village, surrounded by her family. They were laughing, and the food remained abundant, but now she felt a lightness in her heart. The spirits had granted her wish, and she understood that she could be happy while ensuring her family's happiness too. From that day on, Amaka continued to fetch firewood and care for her family, but she also made time for herself. And every now and then, she would return to the forest, playing her flute to the spirits, celebrating the dance of life that intertwined their fates. The villagers whispered tales of Amaka, the kind-hearted woman who had danced with the spirits of the forest, and they marveled at the abundance that filled their lives. And so, the legacy of Amaka and her magical flute lived on, reminding everyone that true happiness is found in balance, love, and the dance of the forest. If you enjoyed this story, kindly like, subscribe and leave a comment to encourage us to bring more beautiful stories to you. Thanks.